anything with OBGYN general, you're going to select. And then you can hit OK, and it's going to give you those specific bill areas. So I said we wanted to know our charges, payments, and RVUs. So that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to drag those down here as well, just like we did into rows. We're going to drag these into values because they're the ones we want to know the actual charges, payments, and RVUs for. So we'll again drag our charge amount into values. You can drag your payments into values, and you can drag your work RVUs into values. In this data set, it just so happened that these all came up as sum. Sometimes they do. Excel is somewhat intuitive in that it learns from what you do, and it gives you those options automatically or changes things automatically sometimes. Generally, in your values, most of what you're going to use is sum. It is a common mistake a lot of times for people to be in a rush with Excel or just not realize that these can often by default go in under count. And if they're in under count and it's something like dollars or RVUs or charges, you're not going to get the right result in your pivot table. It's going to give you a count of lines rather than a sum of dollars or a sum of RVUs. So that's an important thing to look at with your pivot tables. The other thing you can do is you can simply just format these. You can right click on anything in the pivot table, format the cells. And if you're using currency, if you're using accounting, whatever you're using there, you can format it for that and your decimal place and make it a lot easier to read for people. The same with, if you have your numbers like RVUs, you're going to format those. Those are not dollars. So you're going to do numbers for that and take out the decimal places. Rounding is typically how most reports work. I've not seen many people in, executive positions ever ask to see cents on the dollar. Unless you're on the finance side. So typically it just makes it a lot cleaner and easier to work with that way. So that's the basic rundown of how to create a pivot table, how to organize your data in an Excel chart, go from that to a pivot table. And then with these pivot tables, the sky is the limit. There's a lot of different things you can do with them. You can insert, pivot charts that you can work from. You can really just kind of change your data in any way you want, whether it's drilling down further on it, so if you want to know your place of service or your location, you can also drag that in under here and kind of nest it underneath and get a breakdown of, your dollars and RVUs for that as well. So there's a lot of different things you can do with your pivot tables. I think once you get to that point though, you can really just experiment with it yourself, whether it's this sample data set or you do it in the future. You're not going to break it. So you can really just move things around and see what's possible with a pivot table. So now that we have the pivot tables down and adding in a chart, one of the other things that I wanted to kind of get to, if we can first, is there's a lot of different formulas you can go through in Excel. One of the most valuable formulas I think that you will work with in Excel is probably your VLookup. Your VLookup allows you to compare various sets of data, pull things from various sets of data, so you're not doing it manually. If you need to find specific things or outline specific things in your data that your data does not have available in it, it saves you from either doing it manually or going back and pulling the data again. It's a way to add a field that you didn't think you could have without pulling data again, but you can.